Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Tryon. Welcome to the Block of the Month Club live. Today, we are making the cutest little blocks. Now, we've graduated to the part of the Barn Star sampler quilt where our blocks are no longer humongous, but we do need to make 3 of them. But not to worry, they come together really quick. I've got 2 of the Mosaic stars already done. I'm going to make the 3rd one here with you now, and it couldn't be easier or cuter. So I love little blocks. You know, I mean, I love big blocks too. But when I see these little ones, I think, oh, this is really fun, and they do come together fast when you're chain piecing. So we're gonna do lots of those kinds of techniques to get through all 3 at the same time. So grab your book and your sampler sheet. I'd encourage you all to keep, if you're following along, to keep doing your swatches because we are going to be coming along the part of the book where we're going to start using material, not this week's, but we're going to start using material that we've already used before. And so while this might seem like a kind of a, you know, I don't need to do that, I'd encourage you to do it because it's going to make figuring out what fabric is what that much easier. So fabric number 1 is right here. We're on page 28 here. We're doing the Mosaic Star, and I'm just getting that raspberry print on that's fabric 1 on there, and then I've got my coral print here, and I'm just using glue. Just white glue. Use whatever you've got. You could even sew it on. That'd be fine too. Okay, this is fabric number 4. Trying to get it in the corner. Cute. And fabric number 9 I've already got on there. And fabric 28. That's my light gray here. And I'm just going to... There's lots of extra, so I'm just taking a little corner off. It won't be missed, so that if we need this for future. And, you know, I'm really starting to think about, at this point, I've got lots of blocks made, what else I'm going to make in this book. And I need to have a little bit of a bragging moment. You guys are going to be very impressed. I'm going to show you guys this. Look. These are all my little stacks. Look at how thick. I decided to go ahead and sew together. You know how I've been keeping all of my little, I mean, I still have lots left, but this is just from this week's. This is everything so far. All my little extras, look at what they're making. All of these stacks of half square triangles. I've got 2 inchers and I've got 1 incher, well, 1.5. I've got some 3 inchers. So at some point, you know, these will all kind of look, you know what I mean? Like they're going to start to make something. What? I don't know. But at some point, we're going to do something with scraps, and this is going to come in very handy. So I just thought I would, you know, kind of boast to the people I knew would appreciate the hard work it takes to put these things together. And I will say, Linda and Sue in the shop helped me. We all were sort of working together when we had a minute. I was like, come on, girls, let's just get pressing these. And so, yeah, when you have a minute to do it, do it. If you have a sweet girlfriend who will help you, even better. All right, let's get on with the Mosaic star block. That's where we're at, page 28. And really, we're going right over to page 29 here. And no strange cutouts or callouts on the cutting for this. We can jump right to the assembly, which is basically to take, we're going to start with our A and B pieces. So we got A and B here. I'm going to set my other pieces over to the side. We've got A and B, and we're basically just making half square triangle here. And at this point, you know, it almost needs no explanation. But if you're tuning in and you don't know what a half square triangle is, essentially what we're going to do is make this little edge here out of these two squares. So to do that, you need to, so you're going to do this on all of your A and B pieces. You're going to need to make 12 units because you've got 3 blocks, remember? So I'm going to show you how to do it here in case you're really just picking this up for the first time. Get a pencil and a ruler, or if you have the laser that we sell at homemade.ca, you can use the laser here too and skip this step. But I'm just drawing a line. And then to make your half square triangle, you're going to sew a 1/4 inch on either side of this line. And if you need the written instructions for how to do some of these techniques, they're back here on page 76, 70, well, it starts on 74, but the half square triangle is over here, turn the page. And there's lots of these special techniques in the back of this book. So if you're new to quilting, or just, you know, wanted to try it, you can do it. You don't have to be an expert. So I've got the line down the center here. It's kind of hard to see, like, but it is there. And I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch on either side of that line. And you're going to do this for all of yours, like chain piece it one after the next after the next. And I'm just going to do it for this one because I've already got them done. I know, not fair, but you wouldn't want to sit and watch me do it for hours and hours straight. Or maybe you would. That'd be fun. Okay, and then we can just, once you're sewn on either side, then we can just trim. I'm using a very random ruler today. It's a flying geese ruler, but as long a straight edge is a straight edge sometimes. A 1/4 inch away from the seam, so right down the middle. And then when we open it up, we are going to press towards the B fabric. So that's the darker pink. And I can just give that a finger press to start. And then press them for real. And I am going to trim off the little dog ears here. It says that all of these half square triangles, so you're going to have a little stack here, need to measure 2.5 by 2.5. So I have a little 2.5 inch square. And if you've got square rulers that are the same size as the blocks you need to square up, use it because it's super useful. And you can use it with a rotating mat or just on its own. So you can see I'm going to find the center of my 2.5 inch square here. And that center line right there, I'm going to place my diagonal line that I sewed on right underneath that diagonal line on the ruler. And anywhere is fine. So long as I've got space to trim, as long as it's on that diagonal line, then what I can do is go ahead and trim off anything outside that line. And then I'm going to be left with that 2.5 inch square. And I'm just turning it around so that I can have a better angle. And then we've got that perfect 2.5 inch square, even if it didn't start out that way, even if you sewed a little wonky, as long as you've got your center line on that center line. So let's take a look. It does look like my white piece is a little bit larger than my pink piece, but it's all going to come out in the wash here because look, as long as I've lined up that center line, now I can trim off. This is where your rotating mat comes in handy. And let's just make sure this way. So yeah, oftentimes we think, oh, why do I need like extra rulers? I already have. It's for times like this when you want to make quick work out of trimming something and you don't want to have to be like measuring over and moving it all over. You know, being able to trim it to your exact size is really great. Okay, so I'll set that aside for right now. We'll have to pick it up a little later, I'm sure. So you'll go ahead and do that to all 12 of your blocks. Little corner units, because you can see here, these are going to make these little units right here. Yeah, okay, I'm going to set them aside. All right, next up, we're going to do a few flying geese. So this is what we're looking like. We need our D piece and 2 C's. And again, you need to make 12 of these. So you're going to have lots of C's and lots of D's. And we're going to go ahead and you need to, again, draw a line down the back of all of your C pieces. So you may as well go ahead and just draw the line down all of those pieces. You're going to have 24 of them, right? And do them all at once. If you assembly line things, it'll go quicker. Thanks for all of the love on the doing my pieces and ironing them. That's a feat, you guys know. All right, so get your D pieces and we're going to go one at a time and we're going to make sure that we line up our corner with our diagonal line. If you can kind of see it, maybe Jason can zoom in a smidge and we can really, the top of our diagonal line is going to be right here. See, you can see the pencil line. And it goes this way. And then we're going to sew, instead of a 1/4 inch on the side of the line, we're going to sew directly on the line this time. I know. It's different rules at different times when it seems like it should be the same. You know, just keeping us on our toes. All right, so I'm going to sew directly on the line this time. Oh yeah, that doesn't sound good. When you hear the click, like, yeah, see, look at the tangle I got here. Who knows why? It happens. But you almost always hear the problem before you see the problem. So let's rethread. Ah, look, there's some sort of just piece caught in here. Okay, that's not good. All right, let's take this up. Oh, there's a couple pieces. Okay. Gonna do this to me right while I'm on the TV, huh? Okay. Let's see what's happening. Sometimes, there we go. I will say sometimes when I use Deco Bob, which is this thin thread, it's so thin that sometimes the automatic cutter doesn't see it. And I think that's what happened in this case. Now, I just need some tweezers, really, not these huge scissors, but there's a thread caught right in that cutter. This is the culprit. Just this tiny little nothing of a thread made all that ruckus. I really shouldn't blow in this, but it's almost irresistible. Let me get a little seam ripper because I see one more thread here. And I don't want it to fall in. There we go. One more little one that's just kind of caught. And it's taking all of my willpower to not get the brush out I don't want to be cleaning the machine while we're supposed to be making our block. But you know what? These things happen when you're sewing, and you have to be able to troubleshoot them. This machine's actually looking pretty good. I'm sewing on the Janome 6700, and I'm using the HP foot and the HP plate, which is that nice scant 1/4 inch. The HP is a beautiful foot for quilting. Anyway, so let's see if it looks pretty good on the top, but you know what? Maybe I should just rethread because I don't need to hear that clicking sound one more time. That's the worst. All right. And what I like about this machine is it's not too much computerization. It is computerized. It is like uber heavy duty, but it's not so computerized. Like let's use the automatic needle threader there. That works a good trick. And now I've just pulled it out again. Right, up in the needle threader, down, down again, gently pull up, and then that's how you get it to go through. Lots of people like flick them down or click them down, but it's that motion that works best with your needle threader. Okay, we should be back on track. Let's see. All right. Where were we? We were starting with our line at the top and coming down and sewing directly on it. If it feels like you need a little leader fabric, grab some scrap and you can just turn it over, get things engaged. So I'm just going to test this on the scrap. Come on, please don't make that sound. Let's see how we're doing here. I'm going to see if it caught a thread again. Let's try it. What's happening here? All right, rethread one more time. Rethread one more time, and then I'll just throw this machine out the window, and then I'll pick another machine, and we'll be fine. That's why we have multiple machines, so one can go out the window. It's not the machine's fault. I'm just doing, you know, sometimes something's just off. But when we're sewing live together here like this, I do want to keep it moving. So if I have to grab another one, I will. I know you guys will forgive me. All right, one more test. Come on, old girl. That sounds good. Okay. Now, back to our regular scheduled program of sewing the flying geese. See, now it's not clicking anymore. Sometimes you just have to rethread a couple times and give it a stern talking to, threaten to throw it out the window so everybody starts behaving like they should. Okay, I like to do always a little test flip before I cut this edge off to make sure it's really making a rectangle. Not bad. I don't love that that's kind of coming off the edge, but this little girl's had a little time, so we're just going to leave it alone. And I am going, so you're going to do this with all 12 of yours, so that one side on, and then you're going to put your 1/4 inch line on your ruler on your stitches and take away 1/4 inch away from the stitches. And then you're left with your little piece like this, which I'm going to promptly sew because I am a hero. And that's how you end up with stacks and stacks of scraps like this because you're so diligent. Okay, off we go. Good. And then we're going to press this towards the purple, and then we're going to come back and put this one on. So I'm just going to quickly bring the iron in so you guys can see. Press it towards the purple. And now we're going to bring in the next square. that also has the line starting here and coming down, and get it in right in that corner. So you can see that little part sneaking up. Luckily, I know there's a little bit of room to trim here. Otherwise, that's not good. But that's going to get trimmed. So off we go. Right on the line. And look, sometimes you have days where your blocks and your points are right on the money. And then other days, you have to rethread your machine 6 times while you're live with all your friends. Okay. All right, that's looking cute. Nice. Okay, let's trim it. And go ahead, sew your edge or sew your scraps here if you're so inclined. Good. And again, we're going to be pressing towards the purple. And this unit also, all of them, when you have all 12 made, you want to make sure they measure 2.5 by 4.5. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that I can kind of trim off that little humpy edge there that I know I had. So we're lined up 1, 2.5, and anything over that half, I'm going to trim off. And see how this one's sort of bending in because I did that crappy job there? I'm going to make up for that in the seam allowance. So it's not all the way over, but I'll have a very short seam allowance here, and then we'll get back on track. So if some of your blocks end up looking a little like hunched, like they've, like they're old and crippled, you know, like this one, that's okay. We can just account for it in the seam allowance. So I'm going to trim there. So it's looking better already. And let's look at, I'm going to start in the middle and make sure I have 4.5. I want to make sure that the point is still centered. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, I have a little bit of making up to do. I probably should have redone that one, but it's going to be fine. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it kind of dips in, but right on the mark. So I'm going to leave, I can take off the little dog ear here. But I'll make up for that little dip in the seam allowance too. No problem. We're not going to sweat it, even though right now I actually really am sweating. It's been hot, 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 hey? Whew. Maybe you've seen our summer heat wave quilt. If anyone wants a quick, take a break from this, a quick summer quilt, check out our website, the Heat Wave Quilt. I'm going to be doing it live a little bit later, and it's a cute, fast, inexpensive, pull it out in summer, full of summer sunshine, really, really cute. Okay, I'm going to set aside my flying geese for now, and we are going to move on to step 3, which is making the center of this block. And we're going to use our E and F squares. So this is my bigger F square here. I already started this one. And you're going to draw your lines down the back of all of your E squares. So you're going to do this for all 3 of your blocks. So you'll have 3 of the bigger F squares and then 12 of the little E squares. And you're going to put lines down the middle of all of those. And you're going to start with your 2 corners, sew, sew, and then we're going to trim. And then we're going to sew, sew, and trim. We're getting good at square and a square because we've been doing them as the centers of a lot of these blocks. That's how we've been getting so many of these little scrap triangles. Otherwise, it would be a tremendous waste of fabric if I wasn't so motivated to keep sewing all those middles. Okay, we're going to press out towards the corners, and it's gonna fill in that square that we've cut away. So I'm holding the iron with my left hand. Feels so weird. I'm right-handed. But it helps when it's on this side to just do it, but a little awkward too. Let's make sure. Ooh, it's hot. See? I should just hold it with my right hand. Because now I had a fold here and I need every little bit of the fabric. I can't have it bent over in the seam allowance. Okay, so then we'll take our last two. You'll do it with all of yours, and we'll go here. And then once we've sewn that one, we'll go here. So we'll sew right on the line. And you can chain piece yours. And I'm going to sew on my sticker. And now this one, the corner. And I'm going to sew right on that line there. Okay, give it a check. It's making a pretty cute little square. I love these colors. And then we can trim off the edge. And I'll sew it. And we're going to press out towards the edges. Okay, now I've got my center unit. I've got my flying geese, which are basically making up all of the corners. This, right? And I've got my half square triangles. Now, remember when you're placing these that you want to have your A fabric, this one, facing down so that these two come together like this. So we want to make sure we're laying it out. Always be laying it out because it's easy to just flip one by accident. Okay, so now we're going to start the assembly. Right sides together here, right sides together here, and right sides together here. And we'll just sew that 1/4 inch. And you can do it for all of your blocks. You could lay them all out in a row now, all 3, and do the same step on each, or you can do them one at a time. If you do the same step, you just have to kind of make sure you're laying it out each time so that it goes back where it's supposed to be, to kind of keep you a bit organized. Otherwise, you end up with turned pieces and you're not sure which one belongs to which block. Okay, I'm going to lay it out again. Not taking it to the iron quite yet. Lay it out. And then we'll go right sides together again. Right sides together again. And then we sew this way. And here, when you're wanting to protect your points, just watch where your points come over to make sure you're not too far to the left of it. If you watch to make sure that you're not sewing over like too far to the left, you'll protect that point. So now when I open it up, I can still see this point and this point. You know what I mean? Didn't get inadvertently sewn over. So I want to press towards the middle here. So I'm just going to give it a little finger press because it kind of naturally wants to go the other way on this particular one, but we want to press it towards the middle. And it's going to be pretty thick because you've got like points over top of points here. This is where the thinner thread comes in handy because you don't have quite so much bulk as you'd have if you had like a 40 or a 50 weight. Give that a nice press. And then the top and the bottom rows are getting pressed outward. So like this way, and this way. And then we can nest those seams. Okay. So lay it out. Looking cute. So cute. All right, right sides together here. And we're going to go ahead and nest these seams. And we'll get Jason to zoom right in. Because here we've got like these points. And when they come together, you can kind of feel the one side and the other side butt together. And then just put a pin right in that seam. Same with this one. And you're going to sew right along that edge, 1/4 inch. Don't run over your pins, but also don't take them out too soon because you want to make sure it stays nested. Protect your point here. Let's take a look. Good. I have a little bit right off the seam here. I'm going to just make sure. There we go. Okay. And then this side, again, right sides together. Nest those seams. And this whole block should measure 8.5 by 8.5. So we'll just check that at the end. It's important that these get trimmed to their right sizes because when we go to assemble the quilt, they're strategically placed where they will fit. Go figure. And a lot of these blocks that we're going to do in this next bunch of blocks measure 8.5 by 8.5. Make sure your little seams don't flip up here. I was just noticing it flipping up. And the seams can measure or be pressed away from the center. Okay, let's take a look at how we're measuring up. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5. I'm just that little wee bit over. That's perfect for trimming. And the rest is looking pretty good. If you had an 8.5-inch square ruler, you could use it here. Otherwise, you can just gauge on your mat where you need to trim. So just a wee smidge over here. So weird I'm cutting with this ruler. Sorry, you guys. Okay. Just to show, you can use any ruler for almost anything, as long as it's a straight edge. Okay. There are my 3 Mosaic stars. Yay. And if you look on the, it's fun to kind of look on the cover and see the big quilt and you're like, oh, there's one. Oh, there's one. You know what I mean? And see where they're going to kind of be sprinkled into the big sampler. I'm loving these little blocks. They come together quick. They're super, super cute. And you can kind of see how, you know, if you were to use them on their own, even how they would make their own secondary patterns. So that's what I love about this is like, even if I were to do something like a pillow front or, you know, some other quilt where we were just using this mosaic star, how nice it would look all together. All right, that's block 11. We'll be back with block 12. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.